Welcome back to another episode of Fandom Terminology. Today, I want to talk about mpreg because I've been thinking lots of thoughts about it. For the few of you that are unaware, the term mpreg refers to a fanfiction trope where a male character gets pregnant. Typically, this male character is cis, sort of. The Omegaverse has certainly complicated what cis is, but it is a term that predates the Omegaverse. I've seen this term also applied to trans men, which is pretty cool. Equal opportunity mpreg. Um, and most people think mpreg is just when two men are doing it and one of them gets pregnant, but you can also have a situation with het mpreg where a woman gets a man pregnant. Which, hey, hashtag feminism. Speaking of het mpreg, it is one of the earliest examples we have of all mpreg. According to fan lore, the first mpreg fic that we have is for Han Solo, and I assume it's Princess Leia impregnating him. It's from 1980. 1980. But it only exists as a design, as a zine, and I want to read it so bad, but there are no available copies. So if you have a cerulean condition in an old Star Wars zine, please let me know, and please take a picture of it. I want to see it. So as we all know, the Omegaverse, as we know it today, that name, comes about in the early aughts, the mid aughts, and we have mpreg that predates that. I remember a pre-Omegaverse world, which is crazy. I was on the internet way too young, but it used to be that mpreg was a surprise, in the same way that most fanfiction was a surprise before you started reading on AO3. And so sometimes you would just be reading a fic between two dudes, and one of the dudes would just randomly feel really ill, and you would be like, oh no. Because the wild thing about mpreg is sometimes there's magic, there's aliens, there's some sort of high concept explanation for why these dudes can get pregnant. Sometimes there's even an in-universe reason, you create a whole AU that's not Omegaverse, or it's a proto-Omegaverse. But sometimes a dude just gets pregnant, and you just live with that, and it just happens, and you didn't know what was going to happen. And I'm someone who doesn't like pregnancy in any form of fiction, so it was a rough time. I don't seek out mpreg fics, but they find me. I like reading fics about trans men, and sometimes those trans men get pregnant. Tag it, please. But I've already invested too much time, and I want to see this trans man, so I read mpreg. Sometimes mpreg, like I said, sometimes it was a surprise back in the old days. And let me say this, why is mpreg so heteronormative? We will get to how weird it is about trans men, but it is so heteronormative. The guy that gets pregnant instantly loses all character and becomes this fawning damsel, and he's so emotional and just completely unreasonable, and he knows he's unreasonable, and it's just the worst stereotypes of pregnancy dialed up to an 11. And then after the baby's born, this man is suddenly so nurturing and loving and soft and demure, and it's you've turned him into the conservative idea of a woman, and that's boring. I want to read this snippet from the fanlore page. This was written in 2001, but this is on the fanlore page for mpreg, where someone writes, I think the mistake that almost all authors make with mpreg, however, is excessive feminization. Believe it or not, I don't think it's necessary to make the pregnant character extremely girlish. Too many authors play up the stereotypes of cravings, mood swings, distorted body image, and all the problems that pregnant women usually have to face. I'd like to see someone do a really good job of having a man face the challenges of pregnancy in a uniquely masculine way. Stoic, stubborn, and insisting that everything he says is purely rational. Maybe there would be some interesting overcompensation episode to deal with the character's sense of lost masculinity, and I'd like to see the other characters treating the pregnant character's emotional and hormonal difficulties more seriously instead of poking fun at them. In real life, pregnancy can be both dignified and dangerous, and I think that makes great material for a story. And it's yeah, they're still dudes at the end of the day. And especially the trans dudes are still dudes at the end of the day, even when you're getting them pregnant in fan fiction. And I don't think it's too much to ask that the men who are pregnant stay masculine. Cis men don't get pregnant in real life, and trans men do get pregnant in real life sometimes, but that doesn't stop them from being men and having their personalities. Your brain doesn't get possessed by a different creature when you become pregnant. You do get weird, but it's not a new person. And fanfic's just so weird about it. And also, fanfic is so pro-life about it. In the Omegaverse, there's almost no discussion of abortion, which is crazy because this is a society that is hyper fertile, and like to some extent you can understand like how the Omegaverse is kind of like a satire and a exaggeration of our extreme gender roles, so it would make sense that it would lean conservative, that like this society that has a lot of ritual around breeding would be very protective of offspring, like that makes sense kind of sort of, but like we can have characters individually resistant to that. But then you also have like the non-Omegaverse where these cis dudes are getting pregnant and like their biology is not changing, there's just a baby growing somewhere inside them. Girls, what are we doing here? This is a medical marvel. These men should be terrified. They should be scared and confused, and they should be going to a doctor and being scared and being like, there's something going on here. Like the normal reaction is not, oh, I'm pregnant, this is scary, I don't want the baby, but I'm gonna keep it. No, girl, this thing's a parasite, a threat to your life. You're not built for this. Literally. Like, I don't know, like there's always an mpreg. You will see like the dudes being so scared. They don't want this baby. It's almost always an accident, or like if you're in the Omegaverse, like a result of like an extreme heat. And it's like, girls, we didn't plan for this. Guys, my dudes, we did not plan for this. What are we doing here? Abort that thing. I want to see more fan fictions with abortion, man-bortion. I want it. I I think there are a lot of dudes in fiction who, if they could get pregnant, would abort that thing. I'm just saying. I think I think this is fun. Have your favorite two dudes go to the abortion clinic together. I want this to become a fanfiction trope. I made a video about mpreg where I begged the question, if there is male pregnancy, then there could also be male abortion. And I called it abortion. And my comment sections had much better name suggestions, my favorite being aboition. So very good. Today I want to talk about popular dude/ships that would in fact abort that thing. We're going with the classics here. Dean Winchester would 1000% get an abortion. Are you kidding me? He wouldn't trust himself to be a father. Absolutely not. But also, he's busy, and also he likes to drink. Like, I don't think he could get sober to be pregnant. You know what I mean? I think the only situation where Dean is keeping that thing is if it's when Cass is like dead and it's Cass's kid. I think that's the only situation. I think Cass is aborting that thing unless it's Dean's child, and then he's keeping it. Of course. John is definitely getting an abortion. He's a doctor. He knows, like, medically safe, like, he is just, this is what's happening. I think the only situation where he is keeping Sherlock's kid is if it's, like, he finds out he's pregnant after Sherlock died. I'm sure that was a fic that someone wrote, absolutely. I do think Sherlock would get an abortion. I just don't think he gets enough pussy for it to happen frequently. Not pussy, it's dick. We're getting him pregnant. What are we talking about? I had a lot of jokes for Hannibal for this, but I think I would get canceled for them. They're not appropriate. But yeah, obviously, he would get very, very late term after birth abortions. He's a fucking cannibal. Will, he's just normal about it. He would just get a normal, like, he would just be like, oh, my period's late. I should take a pregnancy test. He doesn't want that thing. Maybe he does. I don't know. I think the only situation in which Hannibal is keeping a child is if it's Will's, and he's doing it specifically to fuck with him. These two are crazy. I love them. Arthur's father would 1000% pressure him to get an abortion, but Arthur wants a kid. He wants Gwen's kid, he wants Merlin's kid, but his father would be like, no. This isn't proper for a prince, for a king. And he would be so sad. Merlin, he does not want children. He already has so many children to deal with. The children being the fucking Knights of the Round Table. No, he would abort that thing, even if it's Arthur's, even if it's after Arthur's death. God, I haven't talked about the MCU in ages, but we need to talk about the foundational slash ship that this was. And I don't want to talk about the other one. I don't. But don't give the MCU your money. That being said, the MCU gave Cap really conservative values, so I do think he is pro-life, and so he is keeping that thing. Tony's aborting that thing. They didn't give him enough daddy issues. They didn't make Howard the evil monster that he absolutely is in the MCU, but like even then, Tony's still aborting that thing. He does not trust himself to be a father. This is a pet peeve that I've been wanting to talk about for probably almost a decade. Everyone was making Loki pregnant, which makes sense. Loki's gender fluid, a shapeshifter, and in mythology has children. But this Loki, aborting that thing. I don't care whose child it is, aborting that thing. He doesn't want responsibility. He doesn't want to deal with anyone. Like, he's not that kind of dude. He would do it for fun, recreationally. And good for her. I left them off the last video because there is a lot to discuss here. So usually in an mpreg situation, either there has to be some kind of explanation that you, the author, make up, or it's just like, dudes can get pregnant now. And that's how it works. But in Star Trek, mpreg is canon. We have seen several male pregnancies. And with the amount of aliens that Kirk sleeps with, he has definitely gotten pregnant before. I believe that this man has been pregnant in the canon of Star Trek. I think that if the baby was important to the alien culture or like the mission, he would like just let it happen if like the gestation period took like less than a month. I don't think he could deal with more than a month of pregnancy. He wouldn't want it. He'd be like, I'm the captain of the Enterprise. I gotta go. Prime directive, I can't. And he would be out. He'd be out. He can't take more of a month of commitment unless it's with Spock. If Spock got him pregnant during like a Pon farr situation, or even just like consensually, they're both ready for the kid, he's keeping that thing. Unless he's like, they'll retire and have kids. After the 5-year mission of the Enterprise, they're like, Spock, get me pregnant. Spock, on the other hand, if he's getting pregnant by an alien, it does not matter. He is aborting that thing. In every situation, he is aborting that thing. He has too many issues with his father, with his bloodline. He just couldn't take it. And of course, Bones would be there when Jim is giving birth and being like this pointy-eared freak. These two, much requested, and I think these two are the most personally pro-life. Like, I don't want to invoke Batman's no-kill rule. I think that he thinks abortion for everyone else is like a choice and like a personal decision. But for himself, he would never let him. He would not let himself do it. And like, it doesn't matter how many kids he has. He always has room for one more. With the sliding time scale, he is only getting younger. DC just keeps making him younger. He can be popping out kids forever. This man's a baby factory. He was already pregnant with Cassandra Cain. He wants another baby. He needs another baby. Someone needs to get him pregnant. Clark loves his kids. Clark loves his kids, and he was raised in Kansas. I don't think he has an issue with anyone else doing it, but I do think he would feel weird if he did it. He would especially not abort Lois's child. He would maybe get rid of Batman's child. This one was much requested. I have not watched this show. I've heard a lot about it for sure. Neither of these men look breedable to me. I'm sorry. I guess they would both abort that thing. They're busy fighting fires, and that's dangerous, and they probably can't retire. They're probably very glued to their work. I imagine that's what this show is about. I know one of them's bisexual. Can I say something that's going to get me jumped? This one looks like a cop to me. With the arm tattoo, what's going on there? He would be very pro-life if he's a cop, but if he's not a cop, I take it back. This one was highly requested. Let me say this. Fuck Neil Gaiman. Do not watch this show. Pirate it if you must watch it, but do not give him any more fame or notoriety. I have a special place in my heart for this because of the book. Love Sir Terry Pratchett. Love him. That being said, you know that episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Mac is very like pro-life and he like sleeps with a religious girl and she's like, I'm pregnant, and he's like, well, you can get an abortion but not anyone else. That's what Aziraphale is. Aziraphale is like, no, I don't think, like, Crowley, you shouldn't get an abortion. I want you to carry the baby. But if Aziraphale's pregnant, he's aborting that thing. He's like, that's a lot of work. No, thank you. Crowley has no, like, personal moral hangups around abortion. He really doesn't care. But I think the fact that neither of them killed the Antichrist, but, like, Aziraphale was the most willing to do it. He was going to do it. I think Crowley's keeping that thing. He's gotta. Also highly requested. I know the movie version of the ship is much more popular than the comic version of the ship. I'm kind of talking about them both. Charles would keep that thing. He would be like, Eric, think of the optics of aborting a mutant, a potentially very powerful mutant. It would be awful. And he would add it to his list of child soldiers for sure. Magneto, I think he'd abort that thing. Listen, he's already got like 3 kids. He does not want more. He is an old man. He does not want more. He does not need more. He doesn't like at least one of the kids. Also highly requested. I have a different answer for every single version of them, but for this movie specifically, I read a fan fiction where Harry did get pregnant. I don't know why I finished the fan fiction, but the whole time Harry was having like panic attacks because he was so worried about his physical health because he's disabled in this movie. He's chronically ill and like he forces himself to go through with a very dangerous pregnancy. Boy, abort that thing. This one should abort that thing. For whatever reason, that fic made the point that he wouldn't, but he would. He's very like, in what world is he like? No, I need to carry Peter's son. No, this one, he doesn't give a shit. Peter, if he got pregnant, I think he would also abort that thing. He's got Spider-Man shit to do. Neither of these two should be raising a child, especially like when they're like college age. Like, come on. I want to talk about fem/slash ships next, but like, I feel like talking about women having abortions is far less unhinged and silly. It's just like a thing that happens. But I love fem/slash so much. Welcome back to another episode of Fandom Terminology. Last time we talked about mpreg, the fandom trope of a male character getting pregnant, usually by another male character, sometimes by a female character, always biologically improbable. Today I want to talk about the inverse trope, fempreg, as it's called on fanlore, or fpreg as it's called on AO3. I like fempreg because it sounds like mpreg. This is the trope of a woman getting pregnant by another woman, and like mpreg, it did see kind of a boost during the Omegaverse because like we got the equipment there and you kind of don't have to do that much explaining, so it's just easy way to get it going. But like it does predate the Omegaverse like mpreg does. And it also predates the Omegaverse in like canon fiction, in like a really popular way. The best example is Xena Warrior Princess, who does get pregnant by a female ghost. There's also Legends of Tomorrow, which y'all know my complicated feelings on, which has fempreg in the very last episode. And it's fine. Wish we got more of that, honestly. Fempreg is not a popular tag on AO3 with like under 600 works, and like that seems like a good amount considering like fem/slash on AO3 is just not popular. Fem/slash is not popular in fandom in general, and that's the way of things. But just in like scrolling through the fpreg tag, I don't think anyone knows how to use it because it's usually tagged right next to male pregnancy, and there are no fem/slash ships tagged on the fic. I think people are using it either for characters who are feminized or just because they think it also like has something to do with mpreg. But like no, like fempreg is a specific thing. Fpreg is a specific thing. It's when a woman gets pregnant by another woman, and like trans women are included in that because trans men are included in mpreg. Even people who like enjoy fem/slash, who enjoy fempreg, don't know about this tag. Like they don't use the fpreg tag on AO3 because I'm a huge fan of fem/slash ships and I read a lot of them, and sometimes I will tolerate a pregnancy fic. And sometimes it will in fact be fempreg, but it's not tagged as such. They just tag it as pregnancy. For a while, I didn't even know that fempreg existed as a tag on AO3 because I was so used to not seeing it on like my favorite fem/slash ships. A lot of people also use the fpreg tag on just like any fic about female characters getting pregnant, even when it's by a man, and it's like technically, but also no, that's not what that tag means. It means women by women. If it's by a man, that's just normal pregnancy. That's just how the real world works. We have a different tag for that. My limited reading of fempreg, it doesn't have as much of the pro-life sort of connotation as mpreg. Usually the pregnancy is not life-threatening in the same way that it can be for mpreg because like the female characters tend to have like the actual biology for that. That it's really the biology of getting someone else pregnant that's like the trouble in the fic. So like it's usually fine unless like aliens or magic, you know, so that can be complicated. But I understand why pregnancy fanfics tend to lean a little bit more like towards keeping that thing, we have to keep that thing, it's because what's the point of getting your fave pregnant if they're not going to experience pregnancy and have a kid? Like, that's the fun. Pregnancy is just the prelude to the kid fic, which is what you actually want to write, probably. Some people really enjoy pregnancy. I don't understand it. But let it be known, let it be said, I want more fan fictions about abortion. I want two lesbians to get each other pregnant, and then they have to abort that thing. Because they're not ready for a kid. They're magic and aliens be damned. They're not ready for it. They gotta get rid of it. And then that's just a fine and normal thing that happens. I want more abortion in fan fiction. Would that fem/ship abort that thing? There are no men involved in this conception. It is just these two women. These two remain the most popular fem/ship on AO3, and I never want them to change. These two were life-changing for me. I love them so much. Let me say this. Kara is very similar to comic Clark, and I do think she is keeping that thing, especially because like there's not as many Kryptonians in the CW show as there is in the comics. Like, I think she would have a lot of big emotions about being pregnant with some kind of Kryptonian, being able to continue and carry on her culture. She wants a baby so bad. Lena, on the other hand, if she has a meeting on her due date, she is aborting that thing. She is a busy woman. She is a career woman. She is a witch. She does not have time for it. She would maybe get pregnant, but honestly, everyone always made Kara the alpha in the relationship, but I really do think it's Lena. There is a lot of fun to be had with Kara as a submissive alpha, but I really do think Kara would enjoy pregnancy much more than Lena. These two are already co-parenting queens. You know, like, I don't think they need another kid. I think they are so happy and content with Henry that they would maybe be like, hey, do you want a sibling? And he would be like, yeah. Or he'd be like, no. And that would be the deciding factor. You know what I mean? I can't see a world where they want more kids. So I think they would. I think both of them would have an abortion. Do not talk to me about the later season. No, that is not canon. Did you know these two are the 7th most popular ship on AO3? Because I didn't. What? Okay. I think Robin's aborting that thing. I think she would just be terrified of pregnancy. She would just be like, oh god, what? She'd be very nervous about it. She couldn't handle it. Sensory nightmare. Listen, I don't watch this show, so I'll take some constructive criticism here, but I do think Nancy is keeping that thing. She just has, like, vaguely conservative energy. Like, sure, she might be a lesbian in this situation, or even bi, but, like, I think she's keeping that thing. Like, she's just like, it's a life. And it's like, okay, girl. My queens, my sweet babies. The Avatar franchise is weirdly, like, really into the characters having kids post-canon, and I just can't see it happening with either of them. Like, they're busy. Like, we're running into the similar problem with Lena as with, like, Asami, where it's like, she's a busy career woman. She's not putting her life on hold for her pregnancy. She's not even putting her day on hold for giving birth. You know, it's just, she wouldn't want to do it. Cora, like, maybe, but again, she's busy. Her life's always in danger. She was, like, temporarily disabled, and I don't think she would feel great about giving up a lot of her bodily agency for pregnancy. I don't think they would enjoy it.